Because some people say, I don't have the time. And then other people say, we don't make the time. You can't make time. That might be the fairest thing about life is that everybody gets 24/7. We all check in and we all check out.
This is Evolve CPG, a community of purpose-driven, sustainable product brand leaders who not only believe it better, but actively pursue it. I'm your host, Gage Mitchell, and today we're discussing why you should place connection before content when starting a conversation. Our guests, Linwood Paul and Matt Demore, are co-founders of Subtle Distinctions, where they cultivate thoughtful leaders from the inside out.
Hey, Matt, how was your weekend? Did you get that email on our sales channel process that we're doing together?
So did you want to know how my weekend went? Or how do you want me to answer those? Because there's two questions baked in there.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. I'm sorry. I did ask you how was your weekend and then launched right into the content of my call, huh? And that's just because, I got things. Okay. How are you, man? How was your weekend?
I'm doing really good, man. I had a really great weekend. I got to spend some time with some family and loved ones and got to get outside and got some rest time, got some work time in. So overall, I had a really, really great weekend. Yours?
Oh, gosh, just because I've stopped for that moment really just kind of changed my whole demeanor. I appreciate that about you. I'm good. And when you said spend time with loved ones, I spend time with my loved ones too. And, I'm up here in the northwestern New York, and I just tried my snowblower out for the first time this weekend, and it was fabulous. So nice. Thank you. That changed everything for me. Why is that?
So today I want to talk about a little bit of a theme called connection before content. And it's something that I'm super passionate about, and I think there's a lot of value in. It's really exactly as it said, is connecting before we dive into the agenda, the tasks. And in so many times in life, primarily driven by we feel like we have the lack of time or there's not enough value placed on the whole idea of connection, we just skim right by it, or it's a few minutes, if at all, that's incorporated into a meeting, or even passing into a transaction if you're going at the grocery store or something like that. And we don't really take time to connect. And right now, more than ever, with where we're at, people are craving connection. And so I think it's important that everyone find a way in whatever platform they are engaging with, whether it's over Zoom or over any other virtual platform, and also in person, and ask themselves and really create intentional connection. And making that a part of their meetings, making it a part of their presentations, making it a part of their pitches, making a part of even things like this, and figuring out how they can bring more connection in and to see what that can do to their whole interaction. Because what I know that we have found is that the work typically always gets done. It usually always happens. And sometimes it's scary and risky to peel off a third, a fourth, or whatever percentage of your engagement or your meeting to that level of connection. But ultimately, that's in large part where business is built, is on relationships, and understanding the value of that, I feel, is something that we need to really be more intentional with, and actually seeing it as a part of the agenda item is that whole concept of connection before content. So yeah, with that, any thoughts, feelings, responses? Gage? Yeah, Linwood, jump in there.
Well, some part of me, because I, in the beginning of our time together today, asked you how your weekend was. So some part of me, and perhaps it was my heart, knew that was something to do. It might be that the connection piece is built into our heart, it's built into our nervous system. We just get overruled by or overrun by the to-do list. Because I did ask you, how was your weekend? And I didn't think about that. I asked you that and then launched into the sales channel email thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's part of it. We just need to take our lives back, take our energies back, take our focus back, take our connection back. That's one of the things that occurred to me just now, because you said that the work gets done. I remember we did a survey and asked people, is work ever done? Is it ever complete? And to a person, they say no, it's not, especially in a growing business or, as an entrepreneur, it's never done. So it's always a measure of how much is done. Because, well, how's that old phrase go, Matt? On their deathbed, nobody ever wished they spent more time at the office.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you just said meant to me. So I appreciate that because I feel a little embarrassed. I feel a little less human, just kind of launching into the business instead of connecting with you because I care about you and you're important to me.
Thanks, man. And so I think that for everyone who's out there that's listening is my challenge to them and our challenge and offering would be to first and foremost, see what your natural tendency is as it relates to connection before content, specifically in regards to a professional environment. And then also do that for your personal environment and just look at where your natural inclination is to when you connect with somebody. What is that first part, or where do you go from that initial interaction? And to really understand where you lie in that spectrum, and then intentionally just build it in and see what can happen more with productivity, with efficiency, with outcome, also with buy-in. I think a lot of times we always said that when Oprah Winfrey did 36,000 interviews, and she interviewed everyone from Michael Jackson to Barack Obama, and the one thing that she said that every single person, first and foremost, asked her when they were done was, how'd I do? But also was that what she found out was that everyone just wants to be seen and heard. And when you connect with that's huge. That is, you're getting most likely the entire meeting accomplished just by that. And then what could happen to, I said efficiency, but the word is blanking me, loyalty, right? If you've got employees, like all of that. So just putting it out there to understand where you lie on the spectrum of connection before content in your personal and professional life, become aware and begin to become more intentional with creating more connection and to see how that works for you.
That's beautiful, man. I think that somewhere in there, we have to really decide and take back what our natural tendency is. The natural tendency these days, if you will, might be content, get it done. That might be what are they calling it now? The new normal. And there's some part of us that needs to make that the intuitive piece of who we are. So that connection is not counterintuitive, but actually intuitive. That's beautiful. The other thing, when you were talking, I got this picture of Clint Eastwood in my mind when he said back in my day, he said, "Go ahead, make my day." So I'm thinking I'm going to walk around in the world now because of this connection before content piece. I'm going to start doing this in my world to go ahead and make their day and see what that brings about. Thank you for that.
I love it. You bet.
That's fun. I think what's firing up for me hearing this conversation is, I've been in multiple types of meetings, like one where everyone dives in, just kind of like what we're talking about, and just starts going over the to-do list and checking how everyone's progress is on their projects. And then I've been in the opposite type of meeting where it's more like we'll literally spend like half the meeting just checking in as humans and seeing how everyone's doing during the stressful time. And I feel like the difference might be twofold. One is that we're all so busy and we're all so stressed that it feels like we just don't have that time to slow down and check in, and that whole half of meeting would be wasted if we weren't productive during that time. And then the other side of that coin is that I think sometimes we feel like other people are too busy and that we'd be wasting their time as well, right? So maybe sometimes when you're on a phone call, you might feel pressured to dive straight into the content because you don't want to take too much of that person's time. You want to, get to the point, but it's so much more powerful when you can have that, even if it's just 2 minutes of connection before you really dive into that content, because you're not just getting things done, you're building a relationship that allows you to work together better with more trust. So it's worth it taking the time, but so often I feel like we're so busy, we're so distracted that we just don't take that time to slow down and remember that we'll get the stuff done, but let's connect first because that'll make it more rewarding.
And then one thing too that you could try out, Gage, is if you're worried about the other person, what you could say when you begin the meeting or the conversation is, "Hey, Gage, I know we got a lot to get to. I know we have 10 minutes, but I'd love to take 2 minutes just to see how you're doing. What's up? What's going on?" That way you've actually defined the container. You've let them know, I understand that we're busy. We have a lot of stuff to cover. We have 10 minutes. You let them know how much time we have. And then you let them know how much time you like to take for peer connection. So you can just say, all right, my to-do brain can take a chill pill for the next 2 minutes and just relax and know that we are going to get to this stuff, as opposed to, oh man, when Gage starts, I don't know, and I don't want to break the ice and tell him, like, dude, we've got stuff to do. Come on. So a strategy like that could be useful.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So it's just about reminding yourself that it's okay to take a little time, and that 1 minute lost out of a 10-minute meeting is not that bad if it'll make the rest of that meeting go smoother and be more productive.
That's a value. What did you call that, Matt, in the conversation you and I had some time ago? A quality tip-off. That's a quality tip-off. When you're dealing with people who connect before content, that's a certain quality, and it tips the person off that that's who we do. That's who I'm dealing with here. And don't people say yes to people, not just their ideas or not just their products? They say yes to people. There's a quality in that connection before content that people will notice is different about how you do it, which is important. And then the other thing that you said there is, because you and I do this, Matt, is we set timers. You know, when somebody walks into someone's office or calls them on the phone and say, got a minute? You don't think it's going to be a minute. You think it's going to be the rest of the day. So you say no, because you don't have the rest of the day. You do have a minute, but you don't have 10. So start a timer. And while you all were talking, I just looked at my phone, and it's interesting. If I set a timer on my phone for 2 minutes, every time I come back to the timer setting on my phone, 2 minutes is what's selected. So I don't even have to waste any time resetting it to 2 minutes. So if I get in the habit of connecting for 2 minutes, go to my phone, set a timer. Hey, Matt, we're going to connect for 2 minutes. Great. Boom, start a timer. And at the end of it, we get this sound from my phone that I can choose that says, we're done connecting. Now we can get to business. That will set people's nervous system up to know that that's what we do. It's not going to be any more. It's a quality of how we do what we do. And you don't have to be afraid of it when asked.
The Take Two challenge. I love it.
The Take Two challenge.
The Take Two challenge. And it's a real two. It's 120 seconds, period.
Yeah.
Not your idea of two or my idea of two or what turns into 22.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to comment real quick on something that Gage said, was that the notion of time wasted, if not productive. One of the things that we could also do is just understand our own structure of interpretation, or how we see, or what our value system is. And that was saying, actually, by default, I'm placing more value on the content as opposed to the connection. Where from? Why? Why is that the case, right? So in our minds, we're defending the content, and you need both. And I think that could be one of the distinctions that come out of this call, is that it's both. It's the yin yang. It's the opposite side of the coin. So how can we create the mix of the connection and the content? Because without the content, there's no meaning per se, right? It's just a widget. It's just a thing. You're just doing stuff. And at the end of the day, we're interacting with human beings and we're having a human connection. So look at how you actually perceive the content as it relates to its value in relationship to the connection. And that will also help you uncover potentially why you operate the way you do. And going back to certain personality assessments, there's some that they're high connectors, right? And if they're leading the meetings, they might be 100%. So the person who was leading that meeting, Gage, where like, are we going to get anything done, is probably a high connector. Someone who's a high get stuff done is going to, lead the meeting in a different way. So just understanding where you lie personally on that, and then figuring out where the balance is. Because I think it's all about that balance, because we want to get stuff done, but we also want to connect in. And so it's that fluidity, I think, that creates the best result.
The old insights color wheel, leading with red, or the driver personality styles. Yeah, and every good team knows that you got to have somebody from every different DISC, every different disc type and every different Enneagram type and every different strength finders of the 34 ways of being on a team, because then you got that balance. So there's your connection people and your content people, and make sure that they're both in the room and that they're both honored. Something that you said, Gage, as well, that I just loved, was when you said take the time. Because some people say, I don't have the time. And then other people say, we don't make the time. You can't make time. That might be the fairest thing about life, is that everybody gets 24/7. We all check in and we all check out. That might be the only. Imagine if people could buy time. Imagine if people could make time. What an advantage that would be to those time-making entrepreneurs. We'd probably all be looking to be one of those. But take the time. That means that it's another word that you all used earlier, intentional. And people can feel that and people know that. We used to say, one of the phrases that we had when I was learning how to sail was slow down to speed up.
So take two to make someone's day.
Take two to make someone's day. And even if they don't know it, over time, they will show it. They will be shown it. Okay. I can't tell you how many times when Matt and I walk into a room and we say, how are you? And they go, oh gosh, we got to answer that question. It's like, yeah, you do. Because we're connecting before we launch into our content. And while it's a joke and they're giving us a little rip about it, the things that they say and how that impacts their meetings is just, it's why do it. Sometimes you just have to stick to your way of being, even if it rubs folks in a way that they don't understand initially. One of the words that came up recently, Matt and I were trying to figure out if we really wanted to put this into our brand scripting, was the word suffering. And it stuck and it made it. And I just want to point to the fact that there's a fair amount of suffering. People talking about two pandemics going on now, the COVID pandemic and the mental health pandemic. And this is just one of the ways to, connection before content is just one of the ways to assuage, to work with, to work through the suffering that's going on now. So, if we want to get kind of soft and deep about it, what we're doing here is really assisting other people in maintaining their humanity by connecting before all of this content.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And one other thing that was popping into my mind is that when you take that time on the regular, when there is a moment where you literally don't have time and just need to dive straight into content, I think that makes it more acceptable then, because you just connected with that person 2 days ago, and now you can reach out and just say, hey, did you get that email? No? Okay, I'll check in with you later. Yeah. Like, you can dive straight into content when you've connected regularly or recently.
Super good point, Gage. Super good point.
And anything that you practice, you get good at. So those first 2 minutes, the first time you do it, might be a little awkward. You might not get a lot done. But the 200th time you do 2 minutes, you go right to it. The heart is open. The door is open. There's a key that works, and depth is accomplished. So practice, practice, practice.
Love it. Well, thank you both for taking the time to connect with the Evolve CPG community.
Ooh.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome, Gage.
It's our pleasure.
Cheers. Thanks for listening. We're always experimenting, so please let us know if you like these shorter format episodes or if you prefer longer conversations. And of course, if you'd like to learn more about Linwood, Matt, or their company, go to subtledistinctions.com.